this public hearing to order at 4:50 p.m. The public hearing today is going to be on, for this a particular one at 4:40, it'll be hearing, receive public comment on authorizing the application for a community development block grant in the amount of $42,600 for site planning in connection with future development of a 40-acre parcel of land at 7505 M71 in Vernon Township. So at this point, Mr. Horvath, if you will give us a description and just kind of an overview of everything, and then we'll go into our public comment portion.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to be back in front of you. I'm going to make some comments that you did hear last month, but I know there's several members of the audience here that are curious, probably more so for the second one here, but I'll provide some overview that actually encapsulates both of them. So what we have here, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation has created a program called Site Readiness to try to support the development of land sites in Michigan. They realize that we do not have enough available properties to be able to pitch to business prospects, either companies that want to locate in the state or potentially expand in the state. That is an issue in Shiawassee County as well. Basically, we do not have any industrial buildings that are available to locate companies. The inventory has been taken, which is a good thing to have, but it's still a challenge. So what they did was they created a grant program to try to help communities across the state be able to get properties that they view as potential future development sites into a greater readiness state, which means doing due diligence, doing planning, doing engineering, understanding infrastructure needs, conceptual layouts of what a property might look like. So they had roughly $1.5 million available statewide. They took a number of applications. We were very blessed in Shiawassee County to receive 3 out of 45 awards statewide. So that's a pretty good return on investment, I think, for Shiawassee County. Total $212,000 to conduct due diligence activities on the 3 sites. The 3 in question, 2 here tonight, which is the Vernon Township, Brian Marks' property, which is what this one is for, the Project Tim site, and then also Parmenter Road in Corunna. You are not considering that development because that is being pulled out of a separate pot of money from MEDC. So what the procedure is here, these are known as community development block grants. And so it requires a fiduciary of a public body to be able to handle those dollars. So we as a private nonprofit cannot do that. It requires that public entity to do it. Because we have multiple grants in multiple jurisdictions, we thought it would make sense to be able to put this through the County Board of Commissioners. It is a 100% grant. There is no public dollars being requested as a match. I want to be very clear about that. This is also conceptual, and what I mean by that is when either of these projects move forward, there will have to be formal site plans, formal zoning that would have to go through township, city, for all these projects. This is meant to be conceptual. This is meant to help understand what the issues are with these properties and how can we reduce time, cost, and risk for development. I do want to note, because I know, once again, this is a factor, and this probably plays a little bit more into B, this is at the Tim site, but this is not for Project Tim. There's some questions out there. I know some people here thought maybe tonight was going to be an update on Project Tim. While the property itself is tied to the Tim development, it's for the site, not for the project. So no Tim update tonight. We're waiting for updates like other people are here in the room. So this is very specific for the property itself. So I want to be very clear about that so people understand. So the procedure here is, obviously you're taking public comment on these projects tonight. Then we would ask that you move it forward for consideration to formally submit the application to the Michigan Economic Development Corporation for these dollars. We hope they would then award it probably later this month, maybe into December. Then there would be a process of going out for bid for a contractor to help us do the work. And so then we would be back in front of you again There would be opportunity again for public input. We would engage, obviously, with you, with the city, with the township. I've talked to Bert already. And so this will be a process. There will be opportunity for more public engagement. But that's the overall view here. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody, but I do welcome any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why Durant?
What, do you have a question for Project Tim or based off of?
Project Tim,
That'll be our next public hearing. And if
after this one.
Yep, right after this one, and if we can, we gotta get you to sign in. If anybody that speaks needs to sign, please fill that out, and then we'll go through. We've got a few up here already for the Project Tim. Of the ones I have up here right now, Jerry Strickland, sounds like yours is a Project Tim question. Forever.
I don't really have a question, but I gave him my name in case.
So, okay, all right. Well, I just want to make sure that, I think these are all, have to do with our next public hearing. Does anyone have any comments on the Vernon Township site, Great Lakes Fusion, Bert DeClaire?
Bert DeClaire, Vernon Township Supervisor. The township supports the Brian Marks project full-heartedly. I mean, it's part of the Brownfield project that is him to develop that property, get it cleaned up. So we support that project, this grant to help him out and get more development there. And we'll bring more jobs in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else at this time for the Great Lakes Fusion site? Would like to say anything? Any commissioners with comment at this time?
I just support the project too, so.
Okay. Anyone else?
Support human development, so
All
it's
right.
always good.
Then if we have nothing more on this one, we will close this public hearing. Again, one last call, if anyone has anything at this time they'd like to say on the Great Lakes Fusion site. If not, we will close this public hearing at this time at 4:47 p.m. And I guess we need to wait a minute, or can we go right into the other one?
Well, you have to wait till 4:45.
4:47.
Yep.
Yep. All right, yeah, we'll just move right in then to the second public hearing that we had scheduled, which is the public hearing to receive public comment on authorizing the application for community development block grant in the amount of $100,000 for site planning in connection with future development on a 2,000-acre parcel of land located mostly in the northwest of New Lothrop Road, Lansing Road intersection in Vernon Township and the city of Durand. And then, again, we'll Mr. Horvath, do you want to go, or if your comments from last were good, or you want to touch on this one
I
again?
think they're pretty good. Obviously, there's some other folks that want to comment on it, so I'll be available if you want to defer to me for any questions.
Okay, then I think this is where we got most of our. Jerry Strickland, would you like to?
I just have one question. Do they have like an actual map of that area, the exact area?
Do we have a map of that
I
area?
had one originally from the very beginning, but I found it changed a little bit.
Yes, I don't have it with me, but it's generally, just to get everybody's bearings, it's generally the area starting on Lansing Road. I guess it would be east of the Memorial Healthcare, right by the railroad tracks there, so east and north of there. So that's the general area.
Does it go to Goodall Road? That part of it?
I believe it does. I wish I could give you, I don't have that specific map, but I believe it does get up pretty close to it.
Last time I knew, it just went to Bangor.
I don't have the map in front of me, so
Last time I knew.
I'm sure we could get that though.
Anything else, Jerry? Anything else, Jerry? All right. Then we will move to Carol Roop.
Yes.
Yes, okay. We'll go to Bill Perry. Durand?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, is this 100,000 going to be studying the or environmental impact?
What was I heard environmental impact?
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to put it out in the middle of a swamp over a aquifer. And people are complaining about, contaminated water now.
Sure. So generally speaking, obviously there still has to be this process where we go out for qualifications and do a specific scope of work. But generally speaking, it'll be due diligence to understand a lot of different aspects on the site. So it would be things like infrastructure, it would be things like topography, it would be things like, water, drainage, anything a business might wonder about
I
property.
understand it's a steel making or heat treating plant, and he's taking the steam off to make power the turbines. Could he go one step further and make purified distilled water?
Well, that I can't speak to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is that I got on the internet and I saw a YouTube video back from 2016 National Coal Convention. Basically, he's working with the steel plants. He worked at U.S. Steel, I understand, and he worked with them, taking the heat off from the steel, cooling it with water, and then taking the water or the steam off from the cool steel to make power. That was something he worked on 20 years ago, and then they shelved it. So
Yeah, so just to reiterate, I want to be very clear about this. So this isn't being done for them, for Tim. This is for the site. The information, I think, will be beneficial for economic development, for the communities, probably for Tim, potentially for other businesses that could locate there in the future. So I just want to be very clear about that.
just gotta remember though, Durand was built on the swamp.
Yeah.
The most driest part is the rail yards. So, yeah, okay.
All right, thank you. We have another, Berkeley Clerk, did you want to go again?
Yep. The township really has no opinion on this grant. I mean, for economic development, we'd like to see economic development, but this property would go into the city, as we know it right now from our understanding, just for water and sewer. So for the township, it's kind of we don't know what to do. So I mean, I'd like to see, I don't mind seeing the money used for that type of development, but we don't know what go in there for sure if it's anything, or if Tim comes in, but it would go into the city and that kind of hurts the township. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I have, I believe, Harley?
Yeah.
All right.
Now, a little clarity, there's been so much secrecy, you don't mind me stepping down and having a sword. There's been so much damn secrecy on this thing that it's really got people scratching their heads and wondering, just, are you up to being honest with us or sharing whatever information you have, making it available to the public?
Sure.
Well, yeah, once
Well,
again,
I think we need to, again, this is simply this is for site planning in connection with the future development. This really
So why
isn't,
Durand? I mean,
this really isn't, well, because, I think we're getting lost on this could be or could not be Project Tim, which there is no announcement for Project Tim. This body has nothing to do with the development of Project Tim or any work with Project Tim. The point is that this is just for anything that could go there. I think at this point, what maybe Durand or Vernon, I don't know what their plans are, maybe this is for that site to become developed into industrial, become commercialized, whereas right now it's just fields. So at this point, it's just for anything.
it's farmland.
Yeah, it's farmland right now. So if it's going to be industrialized or used for a future land use of a light industrial park, commercial use for the city of Durand, Vernon Township, I think it's going for anyone. Obviously it will benefit whoever goes in there, not just Project Tim.
And not to correct your misunderstanding, but this is about Project Tim. It's my community.
But I don't know that none of us have any real facts that Project Tim's ever gonna happen. We don't. None of us in this room, I think, can say for certain that Project Tim's gonna happen. I don't have any concrete information on Project Tim.
When will we be covering this in?
Yeah, it's news to all of us up here. We have no idea. I don't think any of us have any information on it or any involvement in it. There's some of us that
Somebody must know something.
I think wherever the developers were or went, we haven't seen them in months. So I don't know. I'm just looking
I
at this.
hope they go down to the root.
I think this is just for that site. I think there's development in mind in that area, just in the city of Durand, Vernon Township. I don't think it has any, I mean, yes, obviously it benefits if it is a Project Tim, but like I said, we have no information on that at all. I mean, if you want.
No, yeah, I mean, I'd echo it, the chairman's correct. I mean, we're waiting, you know, like the public is, to hear what their next steps are. And the reality is, there could be other opportunities that go on that property, industrial, commercial, residential. And, you know, the big thing, why this is so important too, is in order to bring economic growth to a community and jobs and tax base, which we all need, but also to try to protect the residents, how you do that is good planning, is good due diligence, making sure you've got everything laid out appropriately to minimize that impact. So that's actually what these dollars are gonna go to do, to ensure that it does that. So I think it's gonna have a lot of benefits.
Thank you. Anything else? Did you, all right, go ahead.
Can I back up?
Yeah, say your name again.
Carol Root.
Yep, okay.
Just a question about the $100,000, and you say it's gonna benefit. What is it, what are you actually using that $100,000 for? Like perk tests and all that other stuff? What is it actually for?
So I mentioned earlier, there will be an RFQ process. That means request for qualifications, where you have to go out and solicit bids for contractors, like planning and engineering firms. And so that will be part of that process, probably starting in December, January. So at that time, the scope of work will be finalized, so it's not final yet. I will tell you, generally speaking, it will be how the property could lay out. So like, you know, depending on what the drainage patterns are, you know, where could buildings go, how could utilities be put into place, things like water and sewer, power and gas, dealing with drainage issues, dealing with topography issues. Once again, all those kind of questions, if a business was building there, they would ask. But we can do that preliminary work to be able to get that done and out of the way. So, yeah, Gary?
Is there a time limit on how long we can use the money, or?
That's a good question. Usually they want those dollars expended within 2 years. So we've got, I mean, obviously we're going to jump on this because we want to get the work done.
Okay, the project, Tim, was supposed to have been like from Durant Road over. You're talking railroad tracks to New Lothrop Road up. So it's just in that, where that, farmland is.
Directly across from the house.
Right, right. So you're just talking that farmland, or are you talking going farther, so it's gonna affect homes to the north of that, or?
That goes to the point made earlier. I don't have that exact footprint to tell you tonight, but that's the general area that we're talking about. So.
And why that area? Because there's no homes on that immediate area?
Well, and I don't know if that's a little bit off the topic of the grant, but generally speaking, why that area? And for those of you who don't know, I do economic development, so I try to attract business, grow business, bring jobs and tax base to the county. And transportation assets are critical for business, so the proximity to Interstate 69 is very important. Proximity to rail is important. When you think of rail, you think of Durant, obviously. Proximity to utilities, you know, water, sewer, power, gas, things like that. Availability of land, there's obviously a lot of it there. So, you know, we normally, generally speaking, concentrate development in about 4 core areas. You know, the Shiawassee area, the Corunna area, the Durand area, and the Perry area, and the surrounding townships and villages thereof. That's kind of where business and commerce wants to go. So that's sort of the general reason why that area.
All right, do we have, I have no more slips up here for the public hearing. Does anyone else have anything though at this time that they would like to add? Yes.
Burton Township. Justin, let me understand, this is state money, correct?
Yeah, this is community development block grant money. It's coming through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation.
So if another company wanted to come in and build, they could use that grant, anybody could use that grant. So could somebody, you might not know this, the answer to this, but can somebody come in other than Project Tim right away and start building if they buy the land?
I mean, hypothetically, they potentially could. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, could another business locate on that property or other commercial? I mean, that could be a possibility. I look at this as due diligence that would benefit the community. It would benefit Tim, you know, and the information they want, but it would benefit potentially other businesses as well. I do want to note again, to be clear, this is all conceptual. Should another business want to come in and want to have a zoning, want to have a site plan, want to have all these other issues, they would literally have to formally apply to the local unit of government for that approval. This does not take out local approvals. This is all conceptual information we're gathering here at this point. So I want to be very clear on that too.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I think these programs are great. We just had one in Flint. And it's great that they're raising the funds to better market these pieces of property that are around the state right now. My only concern is that we do have a gentleman in the county who is tied up a lot of the property through the Project 10 program. And I think there ought to be some way that if we're going to have those funds, that a third party shouldn't be benefiting from this marketing. You know, he has tied it up, obviously, to try to benefit the community, but he's still kind of a middleman, you know, who has tied up these options with the land. And so I guess that's my only concern about getting these funds, is we're really helping that guy make more money. And I want to make sure that that guy, if someone comes to town, wants to build something, that he doesn't then use the fact that he holds these options to leverage the deal and profit private, you know, individually for the program. Thank you.
All right. Do we have anything else from the public on the community development block grant for the 2,000 acre parcel in Vernon Township? All right, do we have any commissioner comments at this time?
Just grateful for Mr. Horvath's work and
Yeah, he
vision
navigated
and
us
looking
through
forward
this.
to development in our community.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
And thanks to my vice president too. He did a lot of this paperwork, so.
So, all right, if we have nothing else, then we're going to close this portion of the public hearing. And we will adjourn. Thank you, everyone that attended. It's on the agenda now.
Okay, so both of them are on the agenda now.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we'll go ahead and call this committee of the whole meeting to order. Just please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So now at this time, we're going to go ahead and move on to our public comments portion. Do I have any slips? Is there anybody in the public that would like to address the board at this time? We have a second opportunity at the end of the meeting. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to County Finance and Administration Report. Commissioner Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to establish a public hearing on December 11th, 2019 for the proposed 2020 Shiawassee County General Budget for 4 o'clock p.m.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Item A, open for commissioner discussion. Questions?
Will the budget, I do have a question, will the budget that we see that night be the same as what we've seen already, or will there be revisions between now and then?
There'll be revisions.
And there'll be revisions?
There'll be some revisions for the main item, but
All right,
again, the budget's similar to last year.
okay.
We're not gonna discuss the budget today then?
We can always discuss the budget. It's not on the agenda, but we can always throw it in other agenda items if you want. All right, any other commissioner discussion? Item A. Hearing none, all in favor of moving this forward to tomorrow signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion moves forward.
I move to approve the 2020 county holiday schedule.
Support?
Motion and a second on the floor. Commissioner Webster, second. Any discussion on this item? Questions? Same as last year. All right, hearing none. Item B, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Plowman. At this time, we'll go ahead and move on to our economic and physical development portion of our meeting. Commissioner McMaster, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item A, I move to consider adopting resolution number 19-11-14, approving an application for a community development block grant in the amount of $42,600 for site planning in connection with future development on a 40-acre parcel of land at 7505 M71 in Vernon Township.
Motion and a second on this item. Just had our public hearing. Any other commissioner discussion, questions on the item? All right, hearing none. All in favor of moving item A forward to tomorrow signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion moves forward.
Item B, I move to consider adopting resolution number 19-11-15, approving an application for a community development block grant in the amount of $100,000 for site planning in connection with future development on a 2,000-acre plus or minus parcel of land located mostly northwest of New Lothrop Road, Lansing Road intersection in Vernon Township and the city of Durant.
Support?
Item B has been moved and supported. Any questions, discussion on this item? All right, hearing no discussion. Item B, all in favor of moving this on to tomorrow signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion moves forward.
Item C, I move to consider approving the 2019 Shiawassee County Apportionment Report as prepared by the Equalization Department and approve the apportionment of taxes in terms of millage rates to be spread on taxable value.
Item C has been moved, supported by Commissioner Plowman. Any questions, discussion? All right, hearing none on item C, all in favor of moving it to tomorrow signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion moves forward.
Item D, I move to consider approving a decommissioning agreement between Assembly Solar LLC and Shiawassee County to comply with the requirement in the special use permit and authorize the board chair to execute all necessary documents.
Support.
Item D has been moved and supported. Questions, discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion moves forward.
Item E, I move to consider approving 3 farm land agreements for Mr. Joseph Peasoff for properties located in Hazelton Township, parcel number 004-01-100-008, parcel number 004-03-200-004, and parcel number 004-11-200-009.
A motion of support on these 3 properties. Commissioner discussion, questions regarding item E?
Hold on a minute, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I think we need to make sure the wording's changed a little bit for tomorrow instead of just saying, approving 3 farmland agreements. There shouldn't be 3 PA 116 farmland agreements? Is that what our past agenda items have said?
Yeah.
Right, okay, so let's just,
PA 116. Yeah.
yeah, so just so it matches our past ones, that's all I have.
Commissioner Plum, will you second on that?
No, I was.
Okay.
I support that.
We'll make that change.
I know Mr. B stuff.
Any other discussion on the item? All right, hearing none, item B, all in favor of moving this forward as amended to tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion moves forward to tomorrow.
Thank you, please, for my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McMaster. At this time, we'll go ahead and move on to our public safety and courts portion of our meeting. Commissioner Webster, you have the floor.
Thank you. I move to consider authorizing the 35th Circuit Court to contract with Michigan Mental Health Court grant in the amount of $48,500 from 10/1/2019 to 9/30/2020, and authorize the board chair to execute the documents.
Support. Item A is moved and supported by public safety and courts. Any questions or discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor of moving it on, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion moves forward.
Item B, I move to consider authorizing the 35th Circuit Court to contract with Swift Insure Sanctions Grant in the amount of $60,000 from 10/1/2019 to 9/30/2020, and authorize the board chair to execute the documents.
Second.
Item B has been moved and supported by Commissioner Root. Any questions or discussion on this item? Hearing none, item B, all in favor of moving it forward, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item C, I move to consider authorizing the 35th Circuit Court to contract with Office of Highway Safety Planning Grant in the amount of $20,000 from 10/1/2019 to 9/30/2020, and authorize the board chair to execute the documents.
Support. Motion on the floor. Commissioner Plum, second. Item C. Commissioner questions, discussion on item C. Hearing none. All in favor of moving this forward to Thursday, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion will move forward.
Item D, I move to consider authorizing the 35th Circuit Court to contract with Michigan Drug Court Grant in the amount of $72,000 from 10/1/2019 to 9/30/2020, and authorize the board chair to execute the documents.
Support. D has been moved and supported. Open.
I would just say we're about to approve close to $200,000 worth of grant money coming into the community to benefit our residents, and I think the 35th Circuit Court and Chrissy Ladd, the court administrator, should be commended for their very diligent work in making this happen.
Agreed. Anything else? Item D, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion will carry.
Item E, consider authorizing the sheriff's office to hire a part-time emergency manager for 24 hours per week at $32.92 per hour to fill a vacancy.
Support. Item E has been moved and supported. It is now open for commissioner questioning or discussion.
I actually have a question about this. At one point, we had some discussion about the emergency manager position not being under the sheriff's office. Is that not being considered anymore, or is that gonna still be there? It sounds like according to this. Or is it
It's
gonna
up
just?
to us to determine.
Okay.
We just put it on there just to get it out there and get, hopefully get looking for candidates, but that's still something I'm open to. Maybe it coming back under the commission and not being a responsibility of the sheriff, so it's up to us, we'll have to decide.
But at this point, we're just authorizing the sheriff's office to go through the hiring process, and we can then decide.
Put it out there, what it is.
Yeah, I talked to the sheriff the other day, and he said that he wants to have a committee to interview people, so it will be several people, but that's kind of what he's looking for, something, if we can get somebody for that.
Do we have any commissioners here that would like to sit on that board? Mr. Chair, is that something you would appoint?
I'll just defer to the sheriff if he's got some people in mind. Yeah, I'm sure he's probably already got it. He likes to get some people from the emergency services involved as well, fire, police.
Yeah, they were our last process, they were very involved with that.
Yeah, Commissioner Marks.
Outside county people sitting on the selection committee.
Yeah, it was a good process last time.
So are we gonna leave that completely to the sheriff and leave our clear out? Because what I want, we've had issues in the past where we put things out and we've got like 1 or 2 applications, and I don't want that to happen here. I'd like to get the word out, make sure we get 100 applications and really get the simple what we
Yeah,
got.
we can certainly work on the posting. We can put it, where it needs to go. I think we can reach out and there's some state websites, there's some, there's our website, there's other areas we could put it than just, posting it to our website,
It seems to become a habit in this county of posting a job, and when your friend doesn't apply, then you close the posting and you place it. And it's starting to get a little old.
Yeah.
Any other commissioner discussion, questions on item E? All right, hearing no other discussion or questions, I guess one question I would have is, we've had the discussion before of whether we go full-time. If we move this position out from under the sheriff, is that something that we would want to decide to talk about? Not to do with this, but we talk about. Okay, as we talked before, we tried to move our previous emergency manager full-time, we didn't really go anywhere. We've had this discussion, I think, 3 years ago, and it didn't go anywhere. Is it a waste of time at this point?
To bring it back full-time or bringing it back under the commissioners? Full-time discussion. Well, I think as of right now, the sheriff that's what he pegged as the option, is just leaving it part-time and staying. But I mean, I think maybe that if we're gonna commit to this, then we're basically eliminating the argument for the need of a full-time.
Sure.
I mean, because we've gone to where we put it at this, we were involved in that, and we were told, yeah, you gotta have a full-time. We went to push to full-time, we were told, you don't need a full-time. So, I mean, now we just gotta realize, if this is the sheriff's recommendation, then I think we need to end the discussion on whether it's gonna be full or part-time. It's gonna remain at 24 hours.
That's exactly my feeling.
Or at least until the budget's in better shape.
It's a 24-hour with an on-call understanding that you might work outside of 24 hours with.
What I don't want is to hire a part-time and then 6 months from now, we already have someone in front of us saying, well, it should be
Yes.
full-time. Let's
Yes.
make the decision now and stick with it.
I
Not argue.
think we gave the sheriff a number of recommendations. The coordinator put them together based
How
on
many do we have, like
full-time.
5, 6?
There was 5 or 6 scenarios that were all different hours and where at on the scale and whether it was under us, whether it was under him. This is the one, and it remains under the sheriff's office, that the sheriff was the most comfortable with, from my understanding. So I think the discussion of full-time is gone for the foreseeable future. I mean, I don't know that we're really benefiting from a full-time as far as grant money anymore anyways. I mean, obviously, we'll get a little bit more on his salary, we get paid back, but, I mean, there's not a lot of funding out there for these type of positions anymore. They're kind of drying up. So, I mean, I don't know. We're going off our sheriff's recommendation. We left it to him. We've left it to him since our last one left. As far as I'm concerned, the budget we have right now, the talk's over at full-time.
Understood. Any other commissioners with questions, discussion on this item E? All right, hearing none, all in favor of moving forward to tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion moves forward to tomorrow.
Mr. Chairman, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Webster. And at this time, we'll now move on to the final portion, Health and Human Services, of our meeting today. Commissioner Garber, you have the floor.
Thank you. I would move that we consider authorizing the Health Department to sign a grant agreement with Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for essential local public health services in the amount of $976,548 from 10/1/2019 to 9/30/2020, and authorize the health director to execute the documents.
Motion, second. Item, is there any discussion? We have our health director here today. Do you have questions or discussion?
I think that's a big budget for the year.
Yep, it's a lot of money.
That's all he could get, huh?
It's about the same every year since
Yeah.
I've been here. It's been about that same.
Yep.
You said up just a little bit.
Expensive to run health programs.
Spend it wisely.
All right. Any other commissioners have questions or discussion? All right, hearing on that item A, all in favor of moving this on to tomorrow, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion will move forward to tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garber. And at this time, we'll go ahead and defer to our chairperson for his report, if he has one.
Brief, we had a meeting with MERS today, Commissioner Plama and I, and Commissioner Garber, Mike, Tracy. And we basically told them where we're at, where we are and what we can afford. Well, we didn't really tell them what we can afford, we're holding our hand a little bit. We did tell them it's not sustainable. You know, going forward, it's not sustainable where it's at. We're not to a corrective action plan. We're not to that point. I feel like we're being proactive and approaching them now. We're not to the red zone yet of needing that, but we're getting there. We talked some defined contributions, going away from defined benefits, defined contributions for new hires, kind of starting to stem the bleeding a little bit. But, you know, he gave us some good options and stuff to look at, and he's going to run some numbers for us, and it's, you know, we're still about 4 weeks out. They'll get with the actuarials, and they'll run some numbers to see what they can do, because they know, I mean, we're 67% funded, so we're not in a position where a lot of counties are. A lot of counties are a lot worse than us. I mean, we're bad. We're not great, but there's certainly ones worse that are on different plans, that are on better, you know, that are getting help. And I think that's kind of what we need is help, relief. We need to look at our contributions. We need to look at our employees' contributions. You know, these are things we need to really, you know, look at over the next couple of years. I mean, it'll take negotiations, it'll take contract talks, you know, that we'll have to go through. But I mean, the fact is, you know, the ship is taking on water, and for it to stay above water, we've really got to work some plans out, and they got some good options for us. We don't know them. We don't have anything tied to values or how much money or what kind of relief yet, but we did start to talk today, and they know where we're at. They completely understood. They say we're not the only community that's reaching out with these type of, you know, this is becoming a burden that, you know, counties, municipalities can't afford. So they're obviously not, this isn't new to them. So I think, you know, in a month or so, hopefully by our next month's meeting, we'll have some of their plans and options of what they think might be best for us, and we need to strongly look at those moving forward. Some of them are going to be long-term solutions too. I mean, we want to be that board that 20 years from now, this isn't the problem that people are tackling. So I mean, some of it could be immediate relief, but it's more so going to be a long-term relief than the immediate relief that we. I mean, obviously we're hoping for immediate relief, but I mean, with defined contribution comes lack of payment into defined benefits and closing of, you know, so there's still funding that has to take place. So, but we're moving forward.
It's a 20-30 year solution.
Yeah. Yes, that's what it's going to be. And
It took a long time to get here and a long time to
With possible, maybe some short-term things, but
yeah,
some short-term relief.
we're thinking ahead here, which I don't think a board in the past has done that clearly, the situation we're in.
It would be our goal to have a complete program that other commissioners of the future would not have to deal with this on a yearly basis. And that really involves an awful lot. And we'll have a report on that. And there's lots of different options, lots of different possible solutions, and so, but we'll have something before the end of the year.
that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there any other commissioners that have any comments at this time?
I would just like to add to that note, and I know there's a lot of things we need to look at, and I'm gonna do my homework, and when we meet, I won't have it done by tomorrow. But when we meet in December, I'm gonna have a list of other forms, some short-term, some long-term. Obviously, the legacy costs are one, but there's some other things. I think we need to look at our travel policy, reimbursement for travel, meals, hotel stays. I think there's some fees that maybe we need to review and look at. Maybe some stuff we need to look at. Some vendors, maybe looking at other vendors. Go out for new bids. So I think there's a lot of reforms, things we can do that can help us in January, that'll kick in January, but there's other things that 20, 30 years out. So you'll be getting something from me.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Are there any other agenda items that any commissioners would like to bring before the board today? Yes, sir.
We're not gonna talk about the budget until we hear more from hers, is that it? I just saw that ask.
That's a key piece, Gary,
Yeah.
so that's,
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, it's, the budget for 2020 is very similar to 2019, 2018, 2017. And, but of course, the big elephant is, of course, MERS and the contribution we have to make to MERS, and that's what we're working on. That will affect the complete budget, yes, yes, it will.
Yeah, because right now there's a couple of options, and this helps us to determine what options we have to take. I mean, there's some more serious options, and then there's some trying to keep the budget similar to the last couple of years. So this will be a big piece. I mean, if there's a little bit there that can help, then
We're working on the amortization extension, which means spreading our costs out a little farther than they are now.
Anyone else? All right, and then at this time, we'll go ahead and move back into our public comments. Yes, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to that comment, I do want to applaud the commissioners for your leadership in looking at these tough issues. But you took a couple steps tonight to address it, and a part of that issue that I think we can't forget. The debate is usually over, do we raise taxes? Do we cut spending? How do we deal with these issues? There is a third piece. It's increasing the pie. It's bringing in more business, more residents, more taxpayers. And the solar project tonight, that is going to be generating some very significant property tax revenue that's going to be going to support township, county, and a number of other jurisdictions. We developed these properties that we're moving forward in the grant for. That's going to bring more tax base. All the projects we brought in front of you over the last couple of years, new building, new jobs, new tax base. So that, what you're doing with that is a huge impact as well. So I do want to thank you for your support of economic development.
Thank you, Director Borman. Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to address the board at this time? All right, hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
I almost said it.